Hey guys, welcome back. It's Ripe again, back with more neighbor stories. In this video, an idiot Karen called the police to get me trespassed from my own private land, claiming that she has already sold the land to her family and that I am not the owner anymore. Let's dive right into the video to find out what happened. The title story is called Smug Karen Calls the Cops to Trespass Me from My Own Land, claiming she sold the land already. So I own a very large area of land and I keep most of it just open. I don't run a farm or ranch or anything, even though I believe it was used in the past for one of those. I like my privacy and enjoy living out in the rural area where I don't need to worry about all the annoyances of the city. I can park my truck wherever I like, let my dogs run around, and although it's a little cliche, I do have a horse. Maybe some wanna call me a bit of a modern day cowboy, but whatever you wanna call me, I'm just a normal guy. I have a newer neighbor who bought a plot of land next to mine, and I did not like her from the first moment that I laid my eyes on her. She was clearly a trashy person and an entitled Karen on top of that. The first time that she met me, I was doing some work outside and she just assumed that I was their help and asked how much I charged and that her yard needed tending to. I explained to her that I lived there and most people just take care of their own yards. She looked at me like I had three heads for thinking that taking care of your own lawn was some kind of crazy thing. That was the first interaction I had with her, but it was far from the last. She seemed to have issues with my dogs and horse just existing, claiming that this was meant to be a nice relaxing place and not what she called a zoo. Most people here have pets and more have horses than don't. It is just some of these new smaller plots that seem to get people that are not accustomed to our ways of life. She is what my mom would have called a total brat, and if she was born in a different time, she would have learned the hard way how to behave. Since my land is so large, I would not have a way to know if anybody was to wander into it. We just work here with some level of respect that you don't go onto other people's properties without permission. Karen probably knew that it was a rude thing to do, but at the same time probably did not care about it or anybody living here. I know for a fact that she didn't care about respecting me, so Karen started having family come over and she had been showing them plots of land. I did not know about this and that she was taking them onto my property when I was not really around or just in my house. I learned all about what she was doing later after neighbors told me that she was around my property with other people, that I even later than that learned were her family. Karen was pretending that my land was hers and was selling plots that she had just made up to family members. She even collected deposits from them and everything. She was not just trying to scare me or mess around. And to repeat myself for one moment, I had no idea what she was even doing. She didn't tell me any of this. I got the information later from neighbors that weren't even quite sure what she was doing, but finally it came out through the grapevine when she started bragging around the area about the big real estate deals that she was making, talking about selling 5 separate plots within the neighborhood. Maybe she would not have sounded suspicious if it wasn't for her lies. There weren't any plots up for sale at the time, and her land was not even big enough to break up, plus it would have taken time to get city permission. Well, only about a day after I started hearing the news of her bragging did her family show up back on my land. I was keeping an eye out since I knew that she was up to something. 2 people were there with a long measuring tape. They were measuring my land and placing spikes onto the ground. I tried to be polite and let them know it was my land and questioned what they were doing. They told me that they had bought the land and were just measuring it out before they brought in a trailer and started building something for real. I told them that I did not sell anything and I needed them to stop what they were doing and to get off my property. They told me that Karen had sold it to them and I needed to get out of their way because they were busy measuring things and I was distracting them. These people seemed just as entitled as Karen, so I guess her entitled nature must have been a family trait. I don't know if Karen was waiting nearby or just had great timing because she showed up before I could successfully kick them off my property. She had the smuggest look on her face and her arms were crossed across her chest. She looked really proud of herself and knew exactly what she had done. I told her that I wanted her and her family to get the hell off my property. I insisted that it was my land and it didn't matter if her family paid her a deposit or not for it, she did not have the right to sell it. She then had the nerve to call the police on me. She claimed that I was trespassing on her land. The police showed up and listened to both what Karen had to say and my side of the story. Her completely fictional tale was that she owned this part of my property and was letting her family make their own little homesteads there. I busted in and tried to stop it and was harassing them, according to her. I explained to the police that it was my land and I'd been paying taxes on it for many years. I did not have any paperwork showing that I owned it on my person, so they did not know who to believe. I honestly think that the officer did not want to deal with the fight between Karen and I at all. He said that it was a civil matter and we would need to take care of it in county court. Well, for now, we were both ordered to leave the property alone. Luckily, I was not using it for anything really. Karen meanwhile was still looking at me with a smug look, as if she had won, making comments that I did not have proof it was my land because it wasn't, and the next day I knew that I had to try and get some paperwork showing the land was mine to shut her up. I went to the county office, who didn't have the records, and had to go across town to a different land office. They had a land map showing what I owned, and I was able to get a copy of that. I also decided to do some snooping and was able to look into past land ownership from Karen, and well, she seemed to have a history of buying small plots of land next to a very large one. I found various complaints against her from other owners claiming that she was trying to encroach on their land. It was clear this was not her first time doing this kind of thing. I will also now admit that I was wrong in thinking that Karen's family members were just as entitled as she was. I had a few of them coming to ask me about a land map. Some did not want to believe me still, but I could see that a few were starting to become skeptical of Karen. Due to it being a civil matter, I figured that if I was the person to start moving legal things along, it could look better in my favor. I found a lawyer that deals with land fraud and property disputes. I gave him the whole story and talked about how she was not just trying to encroach on my land, but that she had sold plots off of it and was trying to make a profit doing so, acting as a real estate agent for land that was never on the market and under the guise that she had owned it. Well, Karen somehow got a lawyer, probably by lying about the issue. We went to civil court and I showed the copy of my land map and proof of me paying my property taxes, so there would be no reason for the land to be foreclosed on or anything else. Her lawyer looked lost at all of this information after clearly being lied to by Karen after I heard what she was saying. Karen was claiming a different land map that was clearly forged, showing that her small plot of land was really half of my land as well. Since my copy was official from that office, it was considered reputable, plus Karen could not come up with where her map even came from. She was told that she had to stay away from my property and police would remove anybody trespassing or trying to build on my land. Things did not end there for Karen, because after all this news came out, her family members were angry at her. She had clearly tried to scam them and they wanted money back that Karen did not want to give over to them. They also had to take Karen to court just to get their deposits back. A couple of them even apologized to me, not believing Karen would do this to them, and they were so sure that I was just in the wrong. And yeah guys, honestly, if you have a family member like Karen, well, let's just say I would rather have enemies than a person in the family like this. Do you have any awful family members like this? I really hope you don't. Anyway, if you thought that was the end of the story, you were wrong. The state decided to investigate Karen as well and charge her with property fraud. It was not a scam that she was going to get away with, and the entire area knew who she was and exactly the type of person she was. She got slammed with fines and now had a record, so if she tried this again, she would probably end up in jail. I honestly don't expect her to last much longer around here, considering how people treat her. A scam artist is not the type of person welcome in our community, and nobody has an issue showing that. Karen is hated by everybody, and she can barely go outside without hearing people loudly whisper about her and what she did. I'm not saying that people should bully her, but I think she is getting what she deserves after thinking that she is better than everybody else. To know that her actions make her the type of person that nobody will be friends with, and possibly nobody will be family with her after what she did to them. And yeah guys, please don't turn off the video. The next one is a really interesting petty revenge / am I the a-hole story, and it is really satisfying. It is titled, Am I the jerk for not telling my roommate where her missing work name tag was when I saw it? So I, 24 female, live in a cheap crappy apartment with 3 other roommates. We were all around the same age and we all worked in fast food except for one roommate who I will call the bank teller. Money was always tight for all of us. We worked long hours for little pay, but we made it work by splitting rent 4 ways and being careful with our spending. About 3 months ago, bank teller lost her fast food job. It happens to everyone in the industry eventually. Maybe a new manager comes in who does not like you, or you cannot make a shift because of an emergency, and they fire you on the spot. Whatever the reason, bank teller was suddenly unemployed. The first month of her unemployment was rough on all of us. She promised that she was looking for work, but I never saw her fill out applications or go to interviews. Instead, she spent a lot of time watching TV and scrolling on her phone. Meanwhile, the rest of us were picking up extra shifts just to make ends meet. When rent came due, bank teller person said she couldn't pay her share. She was in tears saying she would be evicted if we didn't help her. "I promise I will pay you back as soon as I get a job," she said. "Please, I have nowhere else to go." We felt bad for her. We had all been there before, one emergency away from homelessness, so the three of us scraped together the extra money to cover her portion of the rent. It meant I could not pay my phone bill that month and I had to eat nothing but ramen for 2 weeks, but we made it work. "Thank you so much," bank teller said. "I won't forget this. You guys are the best roommates ever." Well, the second month, things started looking up. Bank teller announced that she had gotten a job at a bank as a teller. "This is my big break," she told us excitedly. "I'm making almost twice what I made at the restaurant. First paycheck, I'm taking you all out for drinks to say thanks." We were genuinely happy for her. Moving from fast food to a bank job is a big step up. Better pay, better hours, better conditions. No more coming home smelling like fryer oil or dealing with customers screaming about their orders being wrong. We thought that things would get better for all of us. So then, bank teller started her new job and she seemed different almost immediately. She bought new clothes, nice ones, not the clearance rack stuff we usually wore. She started doing her hair differently, wearing more makeup, and she even started bringing home takeout from places we couldn't afford, eating it in front of us while we ate our budget meals. 2 weeks in, she got her first paycheck. I remember it clearly because I'd been keeping track of the days. My phone service had been turned off because I couldn't pay the bill after covering her rent, and I was waiting for her to pay us back so I could get it restored. "Hey," I said when she came home that day, "did you get your paycheck today?" She nodded but did not meet my eyes. "Yeah, but I couldn't cash it during work hours. Bank policy. I will go to the bank tomorrow and pay you guys back. Promise." I thought it was weird. She worked at a bank after all, but I didn't push it. One more day would not kill me. The next day was Friday. We were all excited because bank teller had promised to pay us back and take us out for drinks. But when she came home, she was carrying a big shopping bag from an expensive department store. "Check out my new work clothes," she said, pulling out blouses and dress pants that still had price tags on them. The prices made my eyes water. One blouse cost more than I made in a day. I said, trying to be casual. "What about paying us back for rent?" We are all kind of counting on that money. Her face changed. The smile disappeared, replaced by a cold look I'd never seen from her before. "I cannot pay you back yet," she said dismissively. "I had to buy these clothes for work. You wouldn't understand. It's a professional environment. I cannot show up looking like I work in fast food." My other roommate spoke up. "We really need that money though. I've been picking up double shifts to cover the bills." Bank teller rolled her eyes. "You guys just don't get it. Working at a bank is not like working at some greasy fast food joint. There are expectations. I have an image to maintain." "But you promised," I said, feeling my face get hogged with anger. "And I will keep that promise when I can," she snapped. "But right now these clothes are more important. You wouldn't understand because you're only food service. Some of us have real careers to think about." She stormed off to her room, leaving us sitting there in shock. We had helped her when she needed it, and now that she was doing better, she was treating us like we were beneath her. The weekend came and things were tense in the apartment. We tried talking to the bank teller again about the money, but she just kept saying we didn't understand professional expectations and that we would get the money when she could spare it. Sunday night, bank teller started panicking. She was tearing apart her room, then the living room, and then the kitchen. "I cannot find my name tag," she said, getting more frantic by the minute. "I need it for work tomorrow. My boss already warned me about not being properly dressed for the job." We all helped her look for a while, but after an hour of searching, I was done. I went to get a glass of water from the kitchen. That's when I saw it. Her name tag was sitting on top of the microwave, partially hidden behind the coffee maker. I stood there for a moment, looking at it. I thought about how she had treated us after getting her new job, how she had looked down on us for working in fast food, how she had spent the money on expensive clothes instead of paying us back, how she had basically told us that our financial struggles did not matter because we were only food service. Well, I walked away without saying anything. For the rest of the night, bank teller tore the apartment apart looking for that name tag. She was crying, saying her boss would fire her if she showed up without it again. I sat on the couch watching TV, knowing exactly where it was, but saying nothing. "Please," she begged us. If anyone sees it, text me first thing in the morning. I have to leave early to go explain to my boss and beg for another name tag. I nodded and said, sure, if I see it, I'll let you know. The next morning, bank teller left for work early, still without her name tag. After she was gone, I went to the kitchen, took the name tag from behind the coffee maker and left it in plain sight on the counter. When I came home that evening, it was gone. One of my other roommates must have found it and told her. Bank teller came home that day looking stressed and annoyed. She had gotten a new name tag, but her boss had given her a hard time about it. She did not thank anyone for finding the old one, just complained about how her boss had humiliated her. 2 more weeks went by and bank teller still had not paid us back. She bought more new clothes and went out to eat at nice restaurants and even booked a weekend trip to see a concert in another city. But somehow she never had money to pay us back for rent. We finally had a house meeting and told her that she needed to pay what she owed or move out. She was furious, calling us jealous and unsupportive. She moved out the following weekend, still owing us money we never got back. Sometimes I feel guilty about the name tag. I did not steal it or hide it, I just didn't tell her where it was when I saw it. But I also feel like she deserved that small bit of stress after how she treated us. And yeah guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments, but I would say she definitely deserved this because she treated OP and the other roommates like crap, and honestly I despise people that look down on others, especially for the work they do. That is just a despicable character trait if you ask me. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for not telling my roommate where her missing work name tag was when I saw it? Comment number 1. You did not hide or steal the name tag, you just did not go out of your way to help someone who was treating you like garbage. She showed her true colors the minute she got that bank job, looking down on the people who helped her when she needed it. The "you're only food service" comment alone makes her the a-hole here. Comment number 2. You are the a-hole. Holy crap, you're one vindictive person. She was late paying you back by a few weeks and you potentially risked her entire career? Do you have any idea how hard it is to get a decent job these days? She was probably planning to pay you back after getting the finances in order. Newsflash, bank tellers do need professional clothes. What did you expect her to do? Show up looking like she works the drive-thru window? No wonder she moved out. I would not want to live with someone who sabotages me over a temporary loan either. Edit, wow, this blew up overnight. To answer some questions, number 1, no, the bank teller never paid us back the rent money. Last I heard she moved in with some other friends and is probably doing the same thing to them. Number 2, yes, we tried to get the money through small claims court, but she kept missing her court dates and eventually we gave up because we were all working too much to keep taking days off for court. Number 3, the name tag incident happened about 2 months ago. We kicked her out about 3 weeks after that when it was clear she was never gonna pay us back. The next one is a shopping malicious compliance story. So I used to work at a supermarket and at 9 AM on a Saturday the following went down. Me, good morning, would you like a bag? Customer sarcastically, no, I'm gonna carry all of these by themselves. It may have been the underpay, the rude tone, or the fact that I was just so tired of customers being nasty, but I decided to go along with it. Me beaming, okay sir, no problem. I then proceeded to scan all of his shopping and charge him. The man paid and stood there blankly staring at his groceries for a moment before looking at me. Customer, where are my bags? Me, oh I'm sorry sir, I thought you said you were going to carry them. Customer angrily, well obviously I cannot carry all of this without a bag. Me, oh okay, well in that case. I then proceeded to go through the usual single-use or reusable bag spiel, and then wouldn't you know it, we were out of the bags he wanted, so I had to call a manager over to bring some more bags to me, which always took ages in this supermarket. The customer then had to dig out his wallet and card to pay a tiny amount for some bags, and then I handed them to him with a smile and receipt and watched while he bagged his own groceries, scowling the whole time. Normally I would scan and bag, but as he didn't want bags to start with, I did not offer and he did not ask. All in all though, a 5-minute transaction took a good 15 minutes and he never pulled that with me again. I have no idea what he thought would happen while he watched me scan everything and pile it up in a very obviously non-bagged heap, but hey, he said no bags. And the next one is a malicious compliance story from school. And by the way, let me know in the comments what you think about malicious compliance versus revenge stories. Which ones do you prefer? To be honest, I prefer the revenge stories, however, the big problem is there are way more malicious compliance stories and especially new ones than revenge ones. Anyway, this one starts like this. So this just happened today at school, it's still fresh in my mind. We were in algebra and we were taking a test. The teacher was out of the classroom for a bit and someone asked me for the answers. Now, I had secretly hated this kid for almost a year because he had destroyed my $210 phone and only paid me back $20 and said, Hopefully this will be enough for a screen protector. So anyways, it turned out he had skipped a question, so he accidentally had about 75% of the questions answered in the wrong box, making them all wrong. He asked me to erase them for him so he could copy my answers because his arm hurt. I was just about done with mine, so I finished it and erased his, but instead of giving him my answers, I turned my paper in. He now had 5 to 10 minutes to answer about 30 questions. The teacher then walked back in while he was pleading with me and asked what was going on. I told him that David was trying to copy my answers. No regrets. Edit, getting a lot of comments about how he broke my phone, so here's the story. I'll try to keep it brief. We were at a youth group that our church does. I'm Catholic, and I was scrolling through all my photos to show to one of my friends. I scroll past one of David looking very less than good. My friend then starts laughing and tells me to go back to that picture, so I do, and he starts dying laughing. A few more people came over to see what was happening, and one of them was David. He sees the picture and just snatches my phone out of my hand and runs into the bathroom. I am banging on the bathroom door and telling him to give me my phone back. He runs out of the bathroom while I'm screaming at him and holding onto his arm. He then just slams my phone into the ground. The screen was completely shattered and the home button did not work. Edit number 2, people are now calling me a bully, but I have a few more things to say about David. He is a stereotypical rich kid who doesn't understand how people have to pay for stuff with their own money, and he also broke my laptop 2 years before. And my dad had to buy me a new hard drive. He also broke my cousin's lamp twice and his parents buy him everything he wants. And before we end the video, we will read one funny story from r/malicious compliance that you don't want to miss. It is titled, "Boss said we must take lunch at 12, so we did." At my old job, we used to have flexible lunch breaks at work. We could go anytime between 11:30 to 2 p.m. Just made sure someone was covering. It worked fine. The new manager comes in and says, "Everyone must take lunch at exactly 12, no exceptions." Okay then. Here is what we did. When 12 hits, we all just walk away. Phones ringing, customers mid-sentence, not our problem. The boss looked panicked and trying to handle it all. And then, by the time we got back, it was a complete mess. The next day, there was a new rule from this boss. It said, lunch between 11:30 to 2 p.m. It's fine. Oh, so back to normal? Okay, cool boss. And yeah guys, thank you for watching. Please check out my endless playlist, otherwise I will see you again tomorrow.